What's in here? Does she be?
Okay, folks, I'd like to get this started. We have a busy agenda, certainly on the Common Council today, and so this is this meeting of the Economic Development Committee. I'm joined by Councilor Gathers, Councilor Jones-Rouser, Councilor Caldwell, and Councilor Nave. We're speaking about we're talking about the enter into purchase and sale agreement with the Rescue Mission Alliance of Syracuse, and Commissioner Oche and Eric are here, so let's get started. You leading off, Commissioner? Okay.
So obviously the catalyst for this was our request for legislation to authorize a purchase and sale agreement for our three parcels. 252 West Onondaga and the two parcels adjacent on Seymour Street. This is intended to, the Rescue Mission has this large lot, it's Field of Dreams on the backside here and on the 200 block of West Onondaga frontage. But in order for them to realize their vision of this Mission Exchange building, our parcels are critical for that. So this is an exciting mixed-use development they've proposed. Not only an owner-occupied warehouse used to sort donations to the Rescue Mission, that'll come with some new jobs, but a two-story building that's going to host their relocated office space on the second floor and several retail storefronts on the first, including a branch of their 315 shop. This is really exciting. We'd like to support this. This is exactly, I think, what we want to be doing with our asset strategy. Inner ring neighborhood, some lots that we seized for tax delinquency over the years, but more than 15 years ago, pre-land bank. And we think we can leverage these into a really good development that we would be fortunate if we were to RFP them to get this kind of an outcome.
Okay. Eric, you have anything to say?
Yeah, just very briefly, I would add, the city has been continuing to work on the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, or DRI. This was one of the projects that was ultimately selected to be a recipient of a portion of those state funds. So this has really been a process working closely with the Rescue Mission team to design the building. The city has also been really involved in the actual design of the building. It's also gone through what's known as our CPTED process, that crime prevention through environmental design. And so really with the type of building that's proposed here, and we're joined here by representatives from the Rescue Mission, so they'll be able to walk you through some of the visuals on the design. But things like well-lit, looking at ways to properly design to deter the type of activity that we know can sometimes happen in these areas, and particularly with areas like Dickerson Street. We've been working very closely with the Rescue Mission to develop a project what we think is going to be a positive addition to that area, particularly given the fact that it is really offices on the upper floors, the ground level retail uses that Matt had just talked about. So it's not an expansion of the Rescue Mission's programming, but rather that this new mix of uses between the office and the retail, and really building a building at a site that's been vacant land for as long as I can remember. So we did have the visual that was provided by the Rescue Mission. We wanted to be able to display that, so hopefully the angle works out for everyone. But happy to take any very initial questions, or again, we're also joined by the Rescue Mission team that can walk through the slides.
So, Commissioner,
Yes.
I would say that it was, this is actually great. I don't have a problem with the project. My issue is that I want to ensure that everything that is set to be is going to be, and what will be the language to meet those requirements and those deadlines, COUs and things like that. Yep. How does it fall back on the city if the project is not completed? Will we take the property back if those things aren't completed as well? And also, given the fact that there is some issues over there with some of the pedestrians that are around that area, will we be able to really fully help them out with the cooperation of the Sheriff's Department providing extra security for that area as well? Because that's also been a problem from constituents talking about, the things that they have to drive to, the things that they appear to see, and things like that. I mean, it's not fully on the project itself or the organization, but they also need some help and some from us and from other entities as well to make sure that this is actually going to take place and be good.
Sure. Yeah, and what I can do is I did bring printed copies as well. So the memorandum of understanding that I had shared previously with counselors and we had talked about in previous meetings Just a copy of that is coming around for anyone who's interested. But as part of the conversation, particularly around Dickerson Street, we know Dickerson Street has continued to be a problem. We really have worked closely with Syracuse Police. There's been direct coordination with the rescue mission, and they have a combination of hired security. That also includes members of the county sheriff's office. And so there has been a significant amount of coordination that has really looked at developing what's written into this memorandum of understanding. That also is really looking to take advantage of some of the programs that right now are available, like the Friendly Faces program. Syracuse Police has been really helping champion that program as a way to help with meeting some of the individuals where they're at. You know, some of the gathering that has taken place, particularly we realize during the warmer months, this is where that can continue to take place and grow during the warmer weather, maybe as opposed to the colder weather. And then I think we've also talked about the fact that we have piloted a program where the rescue mission had applied for what we call our block party permit, but essentially it's a road event. In theory, usually it'd be a closure of a roadway, but what we did was work with the rescue mission to actually extend their authority over the Dickerson Street area, almost as if it's an extension of their campus. That gives greater enforcement mechanisms in terms of being able to deter the type of activities that may be taking place there, because it's almost viewed as an extension of the rescue mission campus as part of being approved for that block party permit. That has come with additional language. We were able to work with the city law department. There's signage that is being posted in order to help notify individuals of what can and can't happen in that Dickerson Street area. And a lot of that has really been directly, again, with coordination with the with the rescue mission, to be able to make sure that we are continuing to look at ways to intervene with some of the activity happening down there. Another example from last year is the fencing. When that fencing was installed, and really looking at ways to deter areas and activity that we were taking place, because unfortunately that area around the railroad bridge has been a magnet. And so that's something that, you know, certainly the rescue mission is keenly aware, working with law enforcement, with the city and the county sheriff to help deter that.
Has the rescue mission ever tried to do this in the past years before?
To my
Was there any
knowledge,
project
no.
that came before?
In terms of being able to negotiate this memorandum of understanding. So this is new in terms of our ability to look at doing this, but this was designed to better, again, almost codify the partnership, and a lot of the language that's included in there has been things that we've been doing actively with the rescue mission.
Is there a agreement with the rescue mission similar to Syracuse University, where they are supporting funds for the use of police in that area?
Do you want to, maybe what we'll do is we'll have a representative from the rescue mission. They can speak a little bit more to the, just what their security looks like.
I'm Dan Seberg. I'm the CEO of the Rescue Mission. I've been there for 17 years, and I've been in charge for 7 years. So we face lots of challenges. We currently do not pay for city police, other than the city police that we pay for to provide security on our campus. I think last year we spent just under $600,000 on both city police and county sheriffs to come and patrol the area. And we do that to, keep, a greater sense of peace in the community, knowing that the individuals that come around are in really desperate situations, and they don't have any place else to turn. So unfortunately, with that comes criminal activity, drug dealers, people trying to prey on them. We've got people in recovery that are trying to get back on their feet, and there's people in the community that are doing everything they can to keep them from getting back on their feet. So, we appreciate the city of Syracuse. We partner with the city police and the county sheriffs nearly every day, and we're open to trying new ideas, and anything that we've worked out with the MOU is results from what we tried last year. So we're continually growing and learning from what we tried, what did work, what didn't work. But for sure, we're open to any questions or ideas to move forward.
So you don't have a service agreement? I'm confused because you said you spent over $600,000 on.
Right. Well, we do have a contract with the city police, but it's not for additional patrols. It's when they're clocked out of their city police shift, then they can come work for the rescue mission. But then as soon as a crime happens, they become city police. So it's the only way to really maintain order. We tried a security firm, and because those individuals didn't have the ability to arrest, drug dealers just don't care. So hiring city police and county sheriffs is for sure the way to go.
Okay, so that might be something we need to look into. The DRI that you mentioned, I was under the assumption that DRI was not for construction, but for rehab, for like facade per se.
And it allows you to do both. Just to briefly speak to that process. So when the city was awarded the $10 million in state funds, there was a process. We had convened a local planning committee that had reviewed and evaluated projects. This was one of the projects that was submitted for consideration. And so it was ultimately selected and recommended by that local planning committee. New York State had to sign off on the final awards. But to your question, Counselor, you can do both rehab of an existing building as well as new construction as well.
Okay, all right.
So before I get away from safety and security, for number 5 with the engagement of Friendly Faces program, the first bullet point, is that from the teams or organizations that we already do business with to handle this?
Yep, so the Friendly Faces program, I'm going to do my best to explain it and do it justice. Syracuse Police have been directly involved, including Deputy Chief Russin, and they have staff dedicated to the Friendly Faces program. And I know recently, directly, we had a meeting with members of the Friendly Faces program, as well as with rescue mission staff and with their security. But what this is it's using existing relationships with organizations that are out servicing individuals, and oftentimes they often will actually meet on site with where individuals may be loitering or gathering to really identify what services, programming, access that they may need to help service their needs. It is a combination through Liberty Resources, Helio Health, Commissioner Collins. I just want to see if I'm missing any of the other major partners. But essentially it is proactively working directly with some of those individuals, building a dialogue and a relationship with them, and really being able to figure out and assess at any given week or point in time, what are the things that helps with some of these individuals?
That's split between the 3, like per caseload, or do they all do something different? Do they all participate in some different type of service?
I know there's dedicated staff that are a part of the Friendly Faces program, and what they do is then they will work closely with Syracuse Police. So a combination of officers that are in the beat patrolling particular areas. In this case, again, Dickerson is kind of one of those hotspot locations, but then they're working with caseworkers from some of these social service agencies, and the two are meeting. I think they communicate on a weekly basis. Here's who we're seeing, here's who may need additional services and things of that nature.
So Mr. Syberg, if you can, how would you feel that this would help improve your organization?
Okay, so this building, to me, it really is, it's like a gateway into downtown from the near west side. I do believe that vacant spaces, and even our vacant land, it doesn't help the community at all. I believe by building this structure, it creates jobs and activates kind of a dead corner that will encourage people to, grab lunch at the Salt City Market, but then take that walk over the, new nice sidewalk that's going to be created with lit up underneath the railroad bridge. But you're going to make that walk, and you're going to, maybe go to the 315 boutique thrifty shopper store. There's going to be 2 other retail tenants there, as well as you're going to walk down to, come do business in the offices at the rescue mission, as well as the backside is going to create jobs for the warehouse work. We have a large 60,000 square foot warehouse off of Henry Clay Boulevard out in North Syracuse, where we do the majority of our thrifty shopper processing of all the donations and goods. Unfortunately, the bus line, it's not easy for people to get out to Henry Clay Boulevard for these entry-level jobs, but it's really good work. It's jobs where it's sorting through goods to know what's sellable, what's not sellable, separating plastics and metals. It's a big recycling process as well. So we're going to be able to offer that downtown as well as out in Henry Clay Boulevard. But I believe that this creates jobs, it activates a corner, and the added benefit of this entire structure is I believe it creates a buffer for the essential services that we need to provide for the city of Syracuse and Onondaga County, which is homeless shelters and meal programs. It's just going to have a buffer where it's happening more on our campus and less bleeding down towards downtown Syracuse. So I think it's got many benefits that provide, jobs, opportunities for people, as well as, kind of a new activated safe space that kind of defines the edge of our campus.
Just so I'm clear, you said that the warehouse space is going to be like the thrifty shopper type of sorting
Processing,
space?
yeah.
Okay. How will you deter, because I don't imagine that you're going to be accepting items there. So how will you deter people from dumping items that?
Sure. So any of our thrift stores and our 315 stores, we do receive donations. We would accept them in the storefront. But the nice thing is, if we did get a lot of donations towards the front, there's going to be access between the store and the back warehouse for the Thrifty Shopper store. So we can just take donations, put them into the warehouse, and they just go into the processing system. I mean,
that's just if you're there
Yeah.
to take the donations. I'm talking about when people just come
Sure.
in the middle of the night and just dump something off.
well, I can tell you we'll have cameras, but people do that now. And so we grab the donations that people leave and we put them into our processing system. Now, at least we're going to have a warehouse where we can activate it. Right now, when people drop off and dump goods, we have to ship it out to Henry Clay Boulevard first. So this actually would get it processed a little bit quicker.
Okay, so the store spaces is technically going to be 315 shops.
Just one. And then there'll be two other retail tenants that we haven't. As soon as the building gets moving, we would put it out there for the community to see if anybody's interested in a storefront space.
Dan, have you reached out to those who have supported the rescue mission over many years? Because we get a lot of mail for Christmas, holidays. Please make donations. Have you reached out to any benefactors or just average people who donate? If you to help with this project.
It's an interesting thought. It's my opinion that because this is not a service building and there won't be any programs in it, I'd rather not try to fundraise for this. I'd rather us continue to put the dollars together. We might have some donors that might be interested in this, but it's really more of a business development project. I'm sure we're going to have future projects where we're going to need donors and support that'll be programs benefiting clients. But because this isn't that, we probably won't fundraise for this building specifically.
What about your general fund? When people make donations, will you use any of your general fund?
Not donations, but any dollars that we generate revenue from our Thrifty Shopper stores that's in excess of what we need for programs, we could allocate some of those
Okay,
dollars.
so you're not going to touch any of your general fund for this?
No donations will go to this.
What is the number, Dan? How much you invested in that corner?
Well, it started at 7 million, but it's up to 11 now, and that's
11
just
million bucks.
that's just because of the construction costs and some additions. But I believe it's about an $11 million project. We have the construction manager who is, as soon as we have access to the land, he's ready to put shovels in the ground to get a groundbreaking, and he really wants to get concrete poured so that they can work on it all winter long and get it up and running by next summer.
And how many people will be working at the warehouse?
I think we're going to have between 10 and 12. I think it'll gradually ramp up between 10 and 12.
And what about the construction? Construction, what is it, 35, 40 people will be working on that?
Probably more than that,
Okay.
yeah.
And Matt, so they had Commissioner rather, so they'll have a retail section of this. Is there any kind of, what's the tax? I know they're obviously nonprofit. Would
There'd
that
be
extend?
very, very few, if we're asking about the exemption status,
Yeah.
there'd be very few analogs to this. I think that would be exempt. This is without having an application in hand. I would expect it to not be exempt.
Yeah. How many people do you have living on campus there?
On this campus, about 200 employees.
So, but I mean, how many don't you have apartments too?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, we have. So on our campus, there's 28 single apartments and there's 58 adult home apartments. So we have an adult home on our campus,
Right.
and then we have 28 single room apartments as well as the shelter. So there's about, you could say there's about 70 residents that live on our campus, and throughout the year, we can max out at 200 people in the shelter.
And as far as this goes to both of you, as far as this goes, this agreement, who's going to be our point person for the city? Who's going to, if something isn't right with this agreement, who's going to like follow up with the rescue mission? Is that you, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's been a combination of NBD, then working with the mayor's office as well. And so I would say not a week goes by that we're not in communication
I think we
with the
need
rescue
one
mission.
person,
Yep.
to be in charge. What do you think, Michael?
Councilors, Michael Collins, Commissioner for Neighborhood and Business Development. So SPD is also very, very closely involved. So typically it's between Eric and Deputy Chief Russin, depending on what the particular issue is, but the communication is constant.
I think the clarity, there's got to be sort of clarity. I think one person would probably make us more comfortable. Just somebody who we could go to in case there's any issues here.
Yeah,
'Cause this is-
we can
I mean-
formalize that.
I mean, this has been vacant for I don't know how many years. I mean, a lot of years.
Sadie's place was torn down in 1999, maybe?
Yeah.
We'd have to check our records, which I've not done lately.
It must have been one of the places I missed in my.
So if we can, walk me through this here, just so I can get a better understanding or answer my question that I think I know.
Sure.
The MOU, we're going to approve this, right? And then after that, then you guys have to come back to the council for the selling of the parcels, or no?
No, that's what's before us now.
So this is all included with it?
MOU is, intended to be followed as drafted, but is an informal sort of a thing that I think you'd call a nice to have rather than a need to have, if that's not being too flip. This is something I think the Rescue Mission and the administration negotiated in good faith, hoping to put a lid on some of the problems this summer that we've experienced in summers past.
How come we don't know if it's taxable or non-taxable?
So that's an interesting one. This comes across our counter more often than I'd like. Our staff make determinations on exemptions when applications are applied for, and then that is reflected on January 1st of the roll year in question. So while we could make informed speculation as to what the exempt status might be on a future year, we're not entirely comfortable doing so with a guarantee attached, if that makes sense. But we can speak to analogous properties in the community. Anything that pays market rent to a landlord shouldn't be exempt. Broadly speaking, any profit-making retail, multi-tenant, non-owner occupied retail wouldn't be exempt. I don't think there's a 315 store in the city of Syracuse that's exempt. Office space, again, kind of a moving target. If, say, RMA is leasing space from RMA Mission Alliance LLC at $18 a square foot, that might be an exempt organization using it for an exempt purpose, but because they're paying market rent to an affiliated subsidiary, that wouldn't be exempt. But you can see how that gets us kind of down a rabbit hole until we were to see a not-for-profit exemption and apply that to the fact pattern. It would be hard to say for certain.
I mean, I believe that the Salt City Market might be an example of this, where a portion of the building is for tax exempt purposes, but then there are other portions of the building that are
That's actually
taxed.
wholly exempt as a pilot. So wholly exempt as municipal industrial development agency use. So again, if that didn't benefit from a pilot, I guess we'd have to speculate as to what the status would be.
Sort of like the Shine Student Center, though. Did we ever win that case or not?
I think that litigation is ongoing.
Okay.
But yeah, a little different from that use case.
So what is the process of the acquisition of the 3 parcels? Like, how does that process work from here?
So variances have been applied for and received. I believe permits have been pulled. I know that our partners over here want to begin demolition of a wing to their office building as soon as they can. There's a party wall, I think, that's shared with one of our parcels on Seymour. So they want to get excavators on site, immediately once this conveys. So we'd hope to get council authorization for the purchase and sale agreement, get that negotiated, and a draft bounced off opposing council sooner than later, and get that thing executed, next month at the latest.
Do you know when those permits were applied for?
Off the top of my head, no. Dan and Crystal?
It was approximate dates for when the permits were submitted or for zoning approval.
So zoning was approved in April, planning commission was in May, and then our building permits were requested in the last 2 weeks. So we haven't gotten final approval for the permits, of course, because there's a subdivision that's attached to it, which would include the city parcels, but everything is in and in process.
So how many, so there's 3 parcels, they're not all city parcels?
4 parcels total, I think. One
Okay.
rescue mission and then 3 city parcels.
Oh, okay, so it's us.
As far as the site work, and I'm just thinking about the future possibility of delays or rerouting in that area, because I know that we just discussed the highway, not highway, I'm sorry, the railroad construction for that area. And then this, if it possibly happens around the same time, do we know if it's going to happen around the same time and if there's going to be any closures to the area at all?
So the general contractor for the project, if there's any sort of sidewalk closures, lane closures, that they would be formally submitting and applying for that work. We are anticipating that as long as there's willingness and support to move forward, the plan would be for groundbreaking to happen this year. The construction, the railroad and the parapet redesign and the actual activation of the railroad bridge, we're still going through that design process, and I know the engineering department and Mary Robinson is as well. We're anticipating that would not be until next year. So there may be, on the tail end of this construction, there may be some overlap. One of the things that we would just do is proactively coordinate effectively. But in terms of the work that's happening here, we're not anticipating a full street closure of, for example, Seymour Street or West Onondaga. The work is largely going to be contained to the parcels themselves, and maybe one lane or one sidewalk may need to be closed during some portions of the work.
So it's a lot of, well, not a lot, but some of this money is DRI money.
Yep,
And
it's
so
one of the sources, yep.
That has taken like years to come to us.
Yep.
So do you have a projection of when that's actually happening?
Yeah, it's, so one of the things that's unique, this is one of the projects where the state has a direct contract agreement with the rescue mission. And so they have the terms of that contract are all stipulated. I know that they've been submitting the necessary paperwork. Similar to most of the state programs through Empire State Development, it's reimbursable. So they would finish the project, complete the work, and then submit what's needed to get the disbursement on the back end. And so
They're all set.
yes, I don't want to speak for the rescue mission, but I know that they have been working closely with the state for this. Again, DRI is one of several funding sources to make this happen, but they would, once they complete it, that's when they could access the DRI funds on the back end.
And with the rise in cost, did the DRI change from the?
It did not, no.
Okay. What is that actually?
This was a $1 million award even, so, and that dated back to around end of 2022 is when that was awarded.
Has there been any outreach to people in the community that live in that area?
So I know that as part of the zoning submission, it was a major site plan review and a re-subdivision. There was a couple different things that were required. So it was publishing the notice of that meeting on that public hearing. So a public hearing was held, and so that gives an opportunity for surrounding neighbors to participate. There's also there's the downtown committee helps convene partners in the southern area. That's actually a group that the rescue mission is a participant of. So this project has been discussed several times in that setting. And then there is the West Onondaga Neighbors, as they call themselves, and that's a group that I know the city, we actively participate in those meetings. I know the rescue mission has in the past as well, and that is also a group that's aware of this project as well.
Okay. Another thing, Dan, you reach out to your clients, you do surveys, you talk to them, the people who do reside there, do you reach out to them, get their input on this
If they would like a project like this?
Yeah.
They like the idea of accessible jobs. So any type of jobs, retail, warehouse jobs, that's what they're looking for. Entry-level work, that's what individuals look for. This doesn't have anything to do with, apartments or housing, but that's what I actually hear most from our clients is, when's the rescue mission going to build apartments? We need more housing. We can't afford anything downtown. So, but I try to explain that that's not this project to a lot of our clients.
Okay, so there are people who are going through tough times, maybe spend a night or two there, and they want to get on their feet again. So you do generally ask their opinion, their input.
For sure.
In conversation. Okay.
For sure, yeah.
Thank you.
So if you could just stay, because I had the question about the housing portion. So is the apartments, are they similar to what you have with the 28 and the other ones, specifically for the population that you service, or is these regular apartments?
The future apartments?
Yes.
I think, so we're pretty far from that concept. I think what we've been talking about with our board of directors is, could we do a mixed income apartments on or nearby our campus? We've seen it's had success around town. And so we would just have to really kind of look at some different models around the country that's doing that. But the idea is, could we effectively have $1,500 a month apartments with some $500 a month apartments, and integrate some worlds together? So that's very early stages that we've been talking about it, but I think we've heard that that's got it's kind of like it's got a growing steam behind it, and so if the mission can create something like that, we would.
So with that growing steam, is Ishai a part of that conversation at all?
I think not for this year, maybe in the future. We've got a large project that we're working on in Auburn that we're going to be writing an Ishai grant for, but not specifically for anything on our campus.
Okay, so technically the apartments, you don't know what's going to happen with them. So who would be the property manager for those? Is that?
The mission would be the owner operator of the apartments, but again, we're probably years away. I mean, if we're going to spend the next year and a half building this, it's going to be a couple years before we can actually get into an apartment project.
Wait, I'm confused.
So there are no apartments as part of this project.
Oh, so
It is
what's the
strictly-
second floor?
So
That's offices.
Offices for.
Oh,
Just offices.
okay,
There won't be any
okay.
residential in that whole project.
Okay, I thought it was
Gotcha.
first floor. Okay, I thought it was mixed use.
I thought I was committing to building apartments.
No,
And I was like,
okay.
oh, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready.
All right. So I also want to know, I don't know if it's you or Eric, can you point out to what's where on there? Is there a pointer on there?
I can do it.
Can you do it, Dan?
So this is all going to be the retail storefronts. So you'll be able to access it here, and then they'll kind of go this way inside. These are just all the offices. This is the back side where our current administrative building is. And then this is the side warehouse where all of the warehousing processing.
What's the little white building over here?
Right here?
Yeah.
It's just a different facade on the entrance to the warehouse.
Okay, and the one over there?
This is just another retail space. They just have a little bit different facades for grounding the building.
Any other questions at all from my colleagues? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good stuff. I did have a question.
Okay.